happen. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. My neighbors compete to see who can put up more blinding lights. The kids all wish away the month 'cause they want presents in sight. This year had me so mad, I've been bad, got cold that is sitting under my tree. I think that my Christmas has died. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. When I was just a boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song.
Hello, namaste. Okay, I don't know how much we're behind because, okay, my song that I played, my intro, sorry, not my song, it did not show up on your screen until after 35 seconds. So I hope we are not 35 seconds behind. It should only be 5, but okay, there is a surprise little presser here by President Trump. I don't know what it's about, but we're going to keep I should say, I'm going to keep my eye on this. This is what I want to talk about today. Many people don't like talking politics. Okay, um, I think we should. Okay, um, and we can agree to disagree and not sit there and be big babies and cry about everything, right? I'm not saying that you're going to cry about everything, but a certain class will. But so Trump won 16 million, okay, and ABC News and George, they, you know what? Some of the things they say are pretty rotten. What, pretty much everybody. Okay, these journalists are supposed to be non-biased, and they are so biased. Are they getting paid off? I mean, what do you think? What do you think? And then you got Democrats that are saying they're not going to attend the inauguration. What are they showing for the country? Don't we want the country just to come together and unite? I mean, really, what are these people actually? What is the message that they're putting out there? I mean, really, think about that. I mean, when Biden became president, I didn't sit there and cry about it. It's like, okay, this is what we got to deal with, right? Right. And then you got Joe Biden here. Right. Then you got Joe Biden here. This is just shocking to me. This happened several days ago. I talked to my daughter about it. He has given 1,500 people clemency, and he has pardoned 39 people. What is going on? For real. It's the biggest ever by any president in one day. Besides Hunter, okay? Besides Hunter, that was just wrong. He should have to pay for his crimes just like any of us, okay? And Joe kept lying. Whatever the jury says, I will respect that. I will respect that. Blah blah blah. I will not pardon him. Blah blah blah. Liar. So I think that's disgusting. Also, if you see, I don't know if you guys know about this. Let me show you. Remember when before Elon Musk bought Twitter, which is now X, and they kicked Trump off there like normal? He, I didn't know he had a thing just like, see this? This is just like Twitter, but Trump owns this. Okay, here, let me put the link in again. It's called Truth. What is it? Truth Social? Hold on a minute. Oh, what's going on here? Well, that is so weird. Hmm. Hold on, let's go to my profile. Hold on a minute, that ain't cool. There's something wrong with it. I'm sorry. I gotta redo that. Delete and redraft. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So, anyways, here's a link to that, to True Social. And as soon as the press conference starts, oh, I think it's going to start. Hold on a minute. Something's going on here.
Thank you very discuss a couple of points. We'll take some questions later if you'd like. I'm sure you might have one or two. I'd be shocked if you didn't. I'd be very impressed. But I'm honored to welcome one of the most accomplished business leaders of our time, the founder and CEO of SoftBank, everybody knows, Masa Yoshi-san. Masa runs one of the largest companies in Japan and among the most successful investment and technology companies anywhere in the world, one of the most successful investors in the world. And we've just concluded a very productive meeting. And today I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. And he's doing this because he feels very optimistic about our country since the election. And many other people are also coming in with tremendous amounts of money. You probably noticed that a poll was just taken. It's business is literally in 39 years, there's been nothing like it. It's been the biggest increase. Small business owners gave it a 41% jump. It's the biggest jump that we've had in 39 years. And nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's just they're very optimistic. This historic investment is a monumental demonstration of confidence in America's future, and it will help ensure that artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and other industries of tomorrow are built, created, and grown right here in the USA. One of the beautiful things about Masa is he's very much involved with emerging technology, probably knows it maybe better than almost anybody. So it's a great honor. And some of you remember after the 2016 election, also SoftBank committed to invest $50 billion in our country, and they did. And I'm very pleased to say that they kept that promise in every way, shape, and form. And now they're looking to do 100. And I've looked at their books. They do have the possibility of doing more. I'm going to ask them to do a little bit more. But first, I'm going to ask them to speak and just to say a few words. Masa, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited. I would really like to celebrate the great victory of President Trump. And my confidence level to the economy of the United States has tremendously increased with his victory. So because of that, I'm now excited to commit this $100 billion and 100,000 jobs into the United States. This is double of last time, as President Trump said. Because I say, oh, President Trump is a double down president. I'm going to have to double down, $100 billion and 100,000 jobs. This is, my confidence level, because that has doubled down. So I am truly excited to make this happen. And of course, business is important. Technology is important. But one more thing I'm really hoping is that this President Trump would make the world, bring the world into peace again. That's my additional hope. And I think he will actually make it happen. So anyway, I'm excited to go, and we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double down is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion and say he can actually, believe it or not, he can actually afford to do that? Would you do that?
Well, my promise is 100, but he's now asking to do more. I think with your leadership, my partnership with you, with your support, I will try to make it happen.
That's good.
All right.
200. He'll make it happen. 200 million investment.
He is a great negotiator.
He's a brilliant guy and did an unbelievable job, and the people of Japan and all over the world are very proud of him. They have tremendous respect for him. So what he does, what he just did, and I would be surprised if it didn't go to 2. When you say you'll try, I know you'll do it.
I will really try, and I need your support, though.
You'll have my support.
All right.
You'll have our country's support.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Masa.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank
Do
you.
you want to
Great
say hello
event.
to the people of Japan who are all watching?
Well, I'm sure our people in Japan are proud to make the partnership of U.S. and Japan be stronger, and I'm very excited to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Masa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. It's amazing. It's a great gentleman, a great leader, and a great investor. So to have that offer made, and we have so many companies coming in now that will be announcing, or that will announce themselves. We don't have to be with them to do it, but they'll be announcing. And as I said, small business optimism took a 41-point jump. 41 points. It went up 41 points. That's unheard of. And that's the biggest they think in recorded history, but they know at least a minimum of 39 years. So that's great. But on behalf of the American people, I want to thank Masa for his faith in what's happening with our country and what's happening with the world. There's a whole light over the entire world. Many people, some reporters, in speaking to them, they said, it actually is true. A couple of them are not necessarily friends of mine, but they said it is actually true that there's a light shining over the world. We're trying to help very strongly in getting the hostages back, as you know, with Israel and the Middle East. We're working very much on that. We're trying to get the war stopped, that horrible, horrible war that's going on in Ukraine, with Russia, Ukraine. We're going to, we've got a little progress. It's a tough one. It's a nasty one. It's nasty. People are being killed at levels that nobody's ever seen. You know, it's very level fields, and the only thing that stops a bullet is a body, a human body. And the number of soldiers that are being killed on both sides is astronomical. I've never seen anything like that. And rapidly, I get reports every week, and it's not even, you know, it's like just they're going down. Nobody's seen anything like it. It's a very flat surface, a very flat land. That's why it's great farming land. It's the breadbasket for the world, actually. But it's very flat, and there's nothing to stop a bullet but a body. There's no protection, no nothing. And it's what's happening there is far worse than people are reporting for both sides. So we're going to do our best, and we've been doing our best, and we'll see what happens. But since the election, I've been working every day to put the world at ease a little bit, to get rid of the wars. We had no wars when I left office, and now it's the whole world is blowing up. But there's great optimism, and you saw that by SoftBank. Starting on day one, we'll implement a rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We had it in my term. We had the greatest economy that the world had seen. We were blowing away everybody. Our country was doubling up on China, doubling up on everybody, and everybody knows it. And then we had to slow it down with COVID, unfortunately, at the end. But even then, I gave it back with a substantial increase of the stock market, bigger than it was pre-COVID. So it was pretty amazing. Already preparations are underway to slash massive numbers of job-killing regulations, eliminating 10 old regulations for every new one. You put a new regulation on, you have to get rid of 10, and we'll be able to do it. And that was about the percentage we had. We cut more regulations than any president has ever cut, by far, actually, by approximately 5 times. Some of those regulations, unfortunately, were put back on, but we'll catch up very quickly. We'll catch up with it. One of the things I'd like to ask the Biden administration, as you probably heard, there are 2 events that took place. We're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is, but there are 2 events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that, so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It involved 49,000 people. For 5 years, they don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it. The other thing is really terrible. We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall. The wall was designed specifically by the Border Patrol because it's very hard to climb. They need to have see-through. They need it to be steel because you can't cut. It's very powerful steel. It's very hard steel. It's a special type of steel, but very, very hard to cut. Inside the steel, as you know, we pour concrete, and that's a grade 10 concrete, which is a very strong concrete, very as though you were building about a 60-story building. It's very powerful concrete. They've made tremendous technology advances in the word concrete. Who would think that? But I know that from the construction industry. Today, what you can do with concrete is incredible. So we have a very strong concrete. And then we have a rebar. We put rebar inside the concrete, and the rebar likewise is very hard to cut. So it's a very expensive process, very expensive wall. And then we put a anti-climb plate on the top. You saw that. And I didn't like the look of it. But then when I watched, we had people testing. We had mountain climbers actually testing, and they were not able to get over the anti-climb plate. So I said, all right, I guess we're going to put it on. That plate on top, which I never loved the look of it, but it works so unbelievably well. You have to do it. So we spent a lot of money on building it, and we have hundreds of miles that we put up. A lot of people don't realize, but we did 571 miles of wall. That's why we had such good records, in addition to the fact that Mexico helped us with their with their military. They kept people out, and they were actually very good under the past leader. But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build, but then after it was built, I said, you know, we can do some more, because it's sort of like water, people flow through, and that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. And that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more, not even talking about the time. The time would be pretty long, but we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have. And people have already come back to us that have deals at 5 cents and 4 cents, and one guy at 3 cents on the dollar, and they offered to sell it back to us at more money than it cost us to build substantially. Can you believe it? So they make a deal with the United States to buy it for pennies, and then they call us and they say, do you want to buy it back? We'll sell it back to you for hundreds of dollars a foot. Hundreds of dollars, from pennies to hundreds of dollars a foot. And we can't let this take place. Now we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So the people that are buying it or trying to buy it are trying to make a deal with us to sell it back at hundreds of times more than we paid. And this is all because the Democrats. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier. And it worked. That's why our numbers were so good. It really worked, and it worked well. And it's very expensive to do. And I'm asking Joe Biden to stop his people from giving it away. It's something that people can't even believe is happening. So hopefully Joe will be able to stop it. We'll soon unleash American energy, and this will be done at levels not seen before, issuing quick approvals for pipelines, drilling, and other infrastructure. It'll be clean energy, and we'll bring in the price of electricity, and we're going to bring it down fast. We're also going to create clean coal. Clean coal is something that has really taken over. We have coal that will last for over 1,000 years. We have so much coal, and with a process, it becomes clean coal. It's very powerful energy, unlike wind. It's very, very powerful, and we're going to be doing a lot of clean coal for the people of West Virginia and others, Wyoming, so many states. We have great states, and they'll be happy to hear it. But we're going to be very much into clean coal. I don't ever use the word coal. I use the word clean coal. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for American families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. As you know, we're giving tax cuts if they do it here. We brought it down from 44%, 42%. In some cases, it was 39. We brought it all the way down to 21%. And now we're bringing it down to 15, but only if they make their product, their car, or whatever they're doing in the United States and the U.S. And people are thrilled. I've had the smartest people on Wall Street call me. They said, where'd you get that idea? And it doesn't seem that complicated, right? But it's it's like the paperclip. Nobody ever thought of it. One guy thought of it. Everybody looked at it. They said, wow, that was a good idea. Why didn't I think of it? but we're bringing it down 6 more points, and that will put us really at uh, the best level we've ever had for bringing in business. We've never been down to that level. We'll be among the lowest taxed states, and a lot of businesses are going to come in. Between that and our taxing and tariff policies, we're going to have business like nobody's ever seen in this country before. That's why we're having a 41-year record in optimism from small businesses and big businesses. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. Any business that invests $1 billion or more in the United States will be eligible for fully expedited permits and approvals, including environmental approvals from the federal government. So when companies come in, if they're going to invest $1 billion or more, there'll be many of them, and they'll go into Detroit, and they'll go into a lot of places where we want them. You saw how well I did with the auto workers. We did unbelievably. You saw how well we did with the Teamsters and also the non-union. Were record 98%, 97%. Nobody's ever got numbers like that because we're bringing business back, and they're all coming back. I'm not. We lost them over years of stupidity. I call it. I call it the years of stupidity, the decades of stupidity. Through the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk has been working very hard with various people, including Vivek. Will going to eliminate hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud. And I can only tell you, I'll give you a little early report, they're finding things that you wouldn't even believe. So we're looking to save maybe $2 trillion. And it'll have no impact. Actually, it'll make life better, but it'll have no impact on people. It's not like we will never cut Social Security or things like that. It's just waste, fraud, and abuse. And will immediately restore the sovereign borders of the United States and stop illegal immigration, which is costing us, I believe, trillions of dollars a year. I think it's a cost that nobody's ever seen anything like it. I don't know how can you be satisfied releasing prisoners into the United States. Think of this: you're releasing prisoners from jails all over the world, not just in South America. From the Congo, I would talk about it all the time. They're a very big sender of people. But from all over the world, they're sending prisoners out of their jails. Some of their jails are empty, and they will be empty soon if this ever continued. I spoke with the president of Mexico, and as you know, I spoke with Justin Trudeau of Canada, and we told them it's not fair, not right. You can't let these people come into our country. And they understand they're very much on notice, and they're going to have to stop this from happening. They're going to have to stop it. We lose a lot of money to Mexico. We lose a lot of money to Canada, tremendous amount. We're subsidizing Canada. We're subsidizing Mexico. That can't go on. And I get along with the people of Mexico and Canada very well, but we can't let that happen. Why are we supporting and giving other countries hundreds of billions of dollars? It's not fair. It's not right. And the people of Mexico and Canada fully understand that. We've talked about it before, but now we're doing something about it. We started, and then we had to fix the COVID situation, and that's what we did. But now we're doing it. We're doing it from the beginning. Howard will be largely in charge. We'll be working on it together. Howard's terrific. He's done a fantastic job, and he's really helped us a lot with transition. I think we have fantastic people coming in. So all of these policies will help us rapidly defeat inflation, create millions of new jobs, and put money in the pockets of the hardworking families of our country, pay off debt. We're going to be paying off a tremendous amount of debt. We're $36 trillion. You don't want to be there. And we're going to be using a lot of the money that we make. We're going to be opening up a lot of businesses are going to be pouring in because of our tax policy. And we're going to use the money that we made to pay off debt and to reduce taxes. We're going to further reduce taxes. If you remember when we reduced them last time, that brought a tremendous amount. We brought it down to 21%, and that was the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And nobody ever thought this would happen, but this is what's supposed to happen. We actually ended up taking in more revenue at 21 than we did at 40%, which was pretty amazing. But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. and we hope we don't have any intervening problems because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus, out of nowhere came other things. We don't want to have, when I left, we had no wars, we had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible. But think of it, 4 years ago, we had no wars. You didn't have Russia going into Ukraine. They wouldn't have done it. They weren't even thinking about it. When they saw what happened in Afghanistan, I think they gave them an idea, but they wouldn't have done it. They would have never gone. President Putin would have never gone in. And now you look at all those people are dead. All those cities are destroyed. It's nice to say they want their land back, but the cities are largely destroyed. They've left Kiev because probably maybe they want to use it or occupy it, but they haven't done it. They've done a lot of damage, but relatively compared to the other cities, very little. But many of those cities are gone. Those beautiful towers, those beautiful buildings that they had are now laying on their sides, destroyed, totally destroyed. The turrets and all of the magnificent 1,000-year-old, 2,000-year-old structures that were very strong are blown to smithereens. You look at some of those cities and not one building standing. So, when you say take over the country, take over what? Take over what? That's 100-year rebuild. Take 100 years to rebuild it, and you can never have it the way it was. What a shame. It should have never happened. It would have never happened. If I were president, that war would have never happened. Nor would Israel have happened with the attack on Israel. So we're inheriting big challenges at home and all over the world. Again, we had no wars. We had no problems. We had no inflation. We had no inflation. We had it less than 1%. Perfect number. And then we had inflation, the likes of which I say, I don't believe the country's ever seen inflation like that. They say 38 years. I don't know. I think it's probably ever, but we're going to take care of all of it. We're going to get the prices down by energy. The energy is going to come in. We have more energy than anybody else. We're going to use it. We don't have to buy energy from Venezuela when we have 50 times more than they do. It's just insane what we're doing. So we will not rest until America is richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. And we have a big head start. Last time we didn't. And last time we didn't know the people. We didn't know a lot of things. But by the time we got it up and going, it was incredible. Again, we built the greatest economy in history for that period of time. And we'll do it again. I believe substantially more so because we understand, number one, the people of Washington. I know them. I didn't know any of them virtually. I relied on other people for recommendations. Some were very good recommendations. We had some great people. Bob Lighthizer, I thought was great. We had a lot of great people, and but we had some people that I wouldn't have used in retrospect. And now I know them better than anybody, better than they know themselves. So once again, I'd like to thank Masa for what he's done with that investment, which will end up being $200 billion, I believe. But I just want to thank him. He's just an outstanding man. When you have that kind of brain power wanting to invest in this country, and that's money that he can't invest elsewhere. So that's a big investment, but makes me feel very good. Makes me feel that we're absolutely on the right track. So thank you, Tomasa. And we'll take a couple of questions. Yeah, please. Jeff. Yeah.
Putin since your election?
Well, I'm not going to comment on the Putin question, but I will comment on Bibi. We had a very good talk. We discussed what is going to happen, and I'll be very available on January 20th, and we'll see. As you know, I gave warning that if these hostages aren't back home by that date, all hell's going to break out, and very strong. But we generally just discussed. I asked him, where are things? Mike Waltz they're doing a great job, by the way. Everybody is very happy. I think he's doing a fantastic job. But he was very much involved in the call. But it was a recap call more than anything else.
President Trump, do you have a plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
Who?
How do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with that. Now, Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you got to be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute. Do you want to know the truth? But we did them, and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it. But, you know, we won youth. Republicans are always 30 points down in youth. I don't know why, but we ended up finishing. There was one poll that showed us down about 30. We were 35 or 36 points up with young people. So I have a little bit of a warm spot in my heart, I'll be honest. Yes,
President
President, are you entertaining the idea of preemptive strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities? Against Iran's nuclear
Well, I can't
facilities?
tell you that. I mean,
Would you
I mean, it's a wonderful question, but am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine if I said yes or no? You'd say, that was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that?
Would you
Say it?
be in support of Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear
How could I
facilities?
tell you a thing like that now? It's just so, you don't talk about that before something may or may not happen. You know, just,
Will you
I don't
shoot
want to,
drones
I
down?
don't want to insult you. I just think it's just not something that I would ever answer having to do with there or any other place
Will you
in the
shoot
world.
President
President
Trump.
Trump.
President Trump.
Time magazine interview, can I ask, just clearly, do you believe there's a connection between vaccines and autism? Do you believe there's a link?
Well, I don't look, right now, you have some very brilliant people looking at it. I had dinner the other night with the head of Pfizer, the head of Eli Lilly, and RFK, as you know, and Oz. And we had, and other people within the administration that are involved, medical. And we're looking to find out, you know, if you look at autism, so 30 years ago, I've heard numbers of like 1 in 200,000, 1 in 100,000. And now I'm hearing numbers of 1 in 100. So something's wrong. There's something wrong. And we're going to find out about it.
What about the
President down. One more. Can I follow up?
Can I follow up on Robert Kennedy? He's on the Hill today. He's meeting with senators. What do you say to people who are worried that his views on vaccines will translate into policies that will make their kids less safe?
No, I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical. But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well as a lot of other nations, and those nations use nothing. And we're going to find out what those problems are. And another thing that came up, the dinner was fascinating because I had Bobby and I had, again, the head of Pfizer. You know who that is. He's a highly respected man who has run an incredible company. Likewise with Lilly, the top two people. And we had the head of the industry also. So all companies were represented. And I said, let's have it out now a little bit. And you know what came out of that meeting is that we're paying far too much because we're paying much more than other countries. And we have laws that make it impossible to reduce. And we have a thing called the middleman. You know the middleman, right? The horrible middleman that makes more money, frankly, than the drug companies. And they don't do anything except they're a middleman. We're going to knock out the middleman. I'm going to be very unpopular after that statement.
Mr. President.
I don't know who these middlemen are, but they are rich as hell. And we're going to knock out the middlemen. We're going to get drug costs down at levels that nobody has ever seen before. And that really, I tell you, we spent more time talking about that with Bobby and with the executives and Oz, all of them. We spent more time talking about that than anything else.
Mr. President, ask a follow-up-related follow-up.
Thanks, President Trump. What about the polio vaccine?
Well, I'm a big believer in it. And I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine,
Do you
the
think-
Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person. So, you know, I was against mandates. Mostly Democrat governors did the mandates, and they did a very poor thing. It was, you know, in retrospect, they made a big mistake having to do with the education of children. You know, they lost like a year, 2 years of their lives. The mandate was a bad thing. I was against the mandate.
So is that something you'd want to?
Yes, please.
Do you expect Ron DeSantis to appoint Laura Trump to Senator Marco Rubio's seat?
No, I don't. I probably don't, but I don't know. Ron's doing a good job. That's his choice. Nothing to do with me. Laura's unbelievable. I mean, she was incredible. The job she did at the RNC as chairman, along with Michael Watley, the combination. But I can just speak for Laura. She is so highly respected by women. I mean, even her workout routines are through the roof. She lifts 150 pounds. I don't know how the hell she does it. She's a bad example for men and women's sports. Because I wouldn't be able to beat her, I don't believe. I'd try like hell. But no, she's an incredible woman. And, you know, it's funny. People oftentimes talk about nepotism. I never had, when I put her there, people said, how did you get her to do it? You know, she could have run for the Senate in North Carolina. Ted Budd would be the first to say, and he wouldn't have run. Nobody would have run. And she just said, no, I want to really focus on my children. When the election, and my family, she has a great family. When the election started getting closer, I asked her, would she go to Washington and work on the, you know, as chairman of the committee along with Michael Watley. And they did such an unbelievable job, especially on cheating. They stopped it, or at least they stymied it. Too big to rig. And we won in a landslide. You know, we won tremendously. She did an amazing job. Now Ron is going to have to make, because Marco has been really a star already, and we haven't started. But you know, we see signs of from some people, or very early, we see signs of stardom, and Marco has done incredibly. He's sort of born for it. It was such an easy decision. The Marco decision was such an easy, but he leaves a vacancy in Florida, and Ron's going to have to make that decision, and he'll make the right decision. I also know that Laura's got so many other things. I mean, she's got so many other things. People want her to be on television. They want to give her contracts. You know, her predominant thought is our country and her family. Those are her thoughts. But she's got so many other things that she's talking about.
Mr. President.
He'll make the right decision.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Should senators who oppose your nominees, your cabinet nominees, should they be primary?
If they are unreasonable, I'll give you a different answer, an answer that you'll be shocked to hear. If they're unreasonable, if they're opposing somebody for political reasons or stupid reasons, I would say has nothing to do with me. I would say they probably would be primaried. But if they're reasonable, fair, and really disagree with something or somebody, I could see that happening. But I do believe that if they're I think we have great people. I think we have a great group of people. Pam has been unbelievably received. You take a look, Pam Bondi. So many have been just unbelievably received. I think Pete Hegseth is making tremendous strides over the last week. He's going to be great. Look, he went to Princeton, he went to Harvard, he was a great student there, but he really was, from the first day I met him, all he wanted to talk about was military. He's just a military guy. I think it's a natural. This was my idea. And you know, Pete Hegseth gave up a lot because he was going big places in Fox, big places, a lot of money. And he didn't even hesitate. When I said, do you want to do this? He said, absolutely. I said, you know, if it doesn't work out, you'll never have the opportunity that you have right now in terms of the world of entertainment or business, whatever you want to call it. You'll never have that opportunity again. In fact, it could be just the opposite because it's nasty out there. He said, I don't care. I have to do it for my country. He gave up a tremendous amount. If this didn't work, it would be a tragedy. Because, but that's what he loves. He loves the military. I never talked to him about anything else. He'd talk about the military. He'd come to see me about a soldier that was unfairly treated, and could I help? That's the only thing I virtually ever talked to him about. And I always remembered it. I've seen him many times, and I don't think I've ever had a subject on anything other than military with him. That's where his love is. And he didn't say, well, I'd like to think about it. I'd like to talk to my family. He said, not even a contest. And, you know, he was going through the roof over there. He was doing great. They have the #1 show that Saturday and Sunday with Will and Rachel. That was great chemistry. And if this didn't work out for him, it would be actually sort of tragic. Yeah.
Would you consider pardoning Eric
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think that he was treated pretty unfairly. Now, I haven't seen the gravity of it all, but it seems, like being upgraded in an airplane many years ago. I know probably everybody here has been upgraded. They see you're all stars and they say, I want to upgrade that person from NBC. I'm going to upgrade him. And that would mean you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. I don't know.
I
Somehow,
hope not.
I mean, I'd have to see it because I don't know the facts. I think he was treated, it's very interesting when he essentially went against what was happening with the migrants coming in. And, he made some pretty strong statements like, this is not sustainable. I said, you know what? He'll be indicted soon. And I said it not as a prediction, a little bit lightheartedly, but I said it. I said, he's going to be indicted. And a few months later, he got indicted. So, yeah, I would certainly look at it. Yes.
Mr.
President
President,
Trump.
can I ask you a question about the drones?
Are you planning on pulling them when you get into office, or will you?
Well, we had 5,000 troops along the border, and I asked a couple of generals, so we have an army of 250,000 in Syria, and you had an army of 400,000. They have many more people than that. Turkey is a major force, by the way, and Erdogan is somebody I got along with great, but he has a major military force, and his has not been worn out with war. It hasn't been worn out with all of the other things. I mean, he's built a very strong, powerful army. And so we have 5,000 soldiers in between a 5 million person army and a 250,000 person army. And I asked the general, what do you think of that situation? He said, they'll be wiped out immediately. And I moved them out and I took a lot of heat. And you know what happened? Nothing. I saved a lot of lives. Now we have 900. They put some back, but 900, if you're talking about two, now one of the sides has been essentially wiped out, but nobody knows who the other side is. But I do. You know who it is? Turkey. Okay? Turkey's the one behind it. He's a very smart guy. They've wanted it for thousands of years, and he got it. And those people that went in are controlled by Turkey. And that's okay. It's another way to fight. But no, I don't think that I want to have our soldiers killed. But I don't think that will happen now anyway, because the one side's been decimated.
Mr. President, I want to ask you a question about the
Intelligence briefing
drones.
of the drones.
Concerned about more unrest in that region, or do you think it will calm?
Well, nobody knows what the final outcome is going to be in the region. Nobody knows who really the final. I believe it's Turkey, and I think Turkey is very smart. He's a very smart guy, and he's very tough. But Turkey did an unfriendly takeover without a lot of lives being lost. I can say that Assad was a butcher. What he did to children. You remember I attacked him with the 58 missiles, unbelievable missiles coming from ships 700 miles away, and every one of them hit their target. But I did that. That was the red line in the sand. Obama drew it, and then he refused to honor what he did. He said, if anybody goes across the red line, and Assad killed many more children after that, and Obama did nothing, but I did. I hit him with a lot of missiles. In fact, President Xi was sitting here the night he was in that dining room having chocolate cake. Remember the famous chocolate cake? But and that's when I explained what we were doing as the missiles were shot. And it was amazing as to precision, because every one of those missiles hit its target from a long distance away. Had President Obama drawn the line and where it meant something, you wouldn't have even had Russia there. But in the end, I never understood why Russia went there. They were not getting very much out of it. But now their time is taken up with Ukraine, and we'd like to get them to stop on Ukraine, and Ukraine stop also. As you know, when I went to the cathedral, which was fantastic, the job that they've done in France, and the job that Macron, Emmanuel did. He did a phenomenal job on the rebuilding of that cathedral. It's magnificent, and they did a great thing. And they had great respect for our country. They treated me, meaning I'm the country, I'm the representative of our country. And we were treated with great respect. And one of the people that came to pay his respects is, as you know, Ukraine, Zelensky. And he would like to have peace. He wants peace. Everyone's being killed. It's the worst carnage that this world has seen since World War II. I've had pictures of fields where bodies are lying on top of bodies. Looks like the old pictures of the Civil War, where just bodies are all over. Just if you saw those pictures, you'd feel more strongly about it. It's got to stop. And we're trying to get it to stop. Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna be talking. We'll be talking to President Putin, and we'll be talking to the representatives, Zelensky and representatives from Ukraine. We got to stop it. It's carnage.
What about the fear here at home of the drones?
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been
Do you have
getting
any- do you have any
regular
reason to think they're a
intelligence
threat?
briefings?
Two quick questions. First, on vaccines, do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccines?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. We're going to find out a lot. We're doing two things. We're going to have tremendous cost savings will come out of this. That's a minimum. And we're also going to have, and I think, very serious discussions about certain things, whether it's pesticides. Europe doesn't use pesticides, and yet they have a better mortality rate than we do. They don't use pesticides. In fact, they use it as an excuse not to take our farm product. We spend billions and billions of dollars on pesticides, and something bad's happening. Again, you take a look at autism today versus 20, 25 years ago. It's like not even believable. So we're going to have reports. No, nothing's going to happen very quickly. I think you're going to find that Bobby he's a very rational guy. I found him to be very rational. No, nothing, you're not going to lose the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen. I saw what happened with the polio. I have friends that were very much affected by that. I have friends from many years ago, and they have, obviously, they're still in not such good shape because of it. And many people died. And the moment they took that vaccine, it ended. Dr. Jonas Salk did a great job. So I don't anticipate that at all. But we're going to look into finding why is the autism rate so much higher than it was 20, 25, 30 years ago. I mean, it's 100 times higher. There's something wrong, and we're going to try finding that. We're also going to find out why are we paying more than other countries. And we were in the process of doing that through transparency and other things. We were doing a good job in that first term, and we brought it down. We got the $35, all of the different things. We got, we were the ones that got all of that done. Every one of those things, we got them done. I said, I hope I win, because otherwise somebody's going to take a lot of credit for what we did. But now what happens is we're gonna have a big conversation on price. Why is it that Germany and UK and other countries are paying so much more for the same box of medicine made in the same plant? Why is it that we're paying many times more? And I know the answer, because our government didn't do what they were supposed to do. And what I put in place was terminated unexpectedly by the Biden administration, and they shouldn't have terminated it. It would have had a huge impact.
And
Okay.
Mr. President, one quick question. On Ukraine, you mentioned that some of the areas are already decimated. Do you believe that Ukraine should cede territory to Russia?
Well, I'm going to let you know that after I have my first meeting. But a lot of that territory, when you look at what's happened to those, I mean, there are cities that there's not a building standing. It's a demolition site. There's not a building standing. So people can't go back to those cities. There's nothing there. It's just rubble. Just like when I knocked down a building in Manhattan, which is actually, this is worse, actually, because we do it step by step. This thing is just got demolished. And by the way, in those buildings are many people. Many people were in those buildings. You know, when they said the number in Ukraine is going to be a much higher number of death, is going to be a much higher number than you're hearing. You know, they're big buildings. That's what I did very well. And these are very long buildings. They're 15 to 20 stories high. They're massive buildings. I was surprised at how big. And they're flattened like a pancake. 1 or 2 bombs hit them and they just collapse. And they'd say, nobody was hurt. Well, nobody knows who was in those buildings. There were a lot of people in those buildings. They're going to find that when they start doing the removal. Many more people are being killed in the Ukraine war with Russia than is being reported. And that includes soldiers. The soldiers are being, it's a carnage that we haven't seen since the Second World War. It's got to be stopped. And I'm doing my best to stop it. Yeah, please go ahead.
You had a meeting with Mrs. Abe yesterday, but Japanese Prime Minister, Mrs. Abe, yeah, and Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba is hoping to have a meeting anytime soon.
I will do that. In fact, I sent him a memento. I sent him a book, the Prime Minister. But Mrs. Abe was very close with our First Lady, with Melania, and she loved Melania's book. And she called and wanted to know if she could have. I was very close to the Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. He was great. He was a great man. And his wife wanted to know if it would be possible to have dinner. And it was just out of respect to Shinzo. And yes, I'd love to see the Prime Minister, and we will do that. I actually sent him a book and some other things for him through Mrs. Abe.
Will that happen before the inauguration day?
It could. If they'd like to do that, I would do that. Yeah.
Sir, President Trump, just to
No,
clarify.
I have great respect for the, for the position. And if he'd like to do that, I'd be here.
And if
Mr.
I
President,
you
President,
report that Ambassador to Japan will be George Glass. Is that your final decision?
Highly respected man. That's right. Highly respected. He's been an ambassador before, did a fantastic job. We consider Japan very important. He's very highly respected. Okay, couple
Sir,
of
which other
Which
world
other
leaders
world leaders
have
have
you
you invited to the
Next question about the
inauguration?
border.
Which other world leaders have you invited to the inauguration?
the world leaders are calling me, and some
Are they
really
coming?
would like to meet. No, I mean, literally, they're calling me, and I'll be seeing some of them. I think it's rude not to. I mean, it's hard to say I'm not going to see you. And I've spoken to way over 100 where they call to congratulate on not only the election, but the size of the election, the extent of the victory. And they were great. I mean, I spoke to over 100 countries. You wouldn't believe how many countries there are. And I'm trying with the best I can to get back to everybody, but there are a lot of countries, and every one of them, literally everyone called, and it was very nice. So yeah, I'd see some if some felt it was an emergency. I've seen,
Anyone in
as you know,
particular?
I've seen President Zelensky. He came to France while I was there for the cathedral opening. They actually had about 70 presidents and prime ministers, and in one case, a king. And we saw some great people. I also met with William, and I was very impressed by William. I think William is terrific. I was very impressed by William. As you know, I met with him too.
Are you
President Trump,
disappointed
borders,
in
please,
the
sir.
inauguration?
Can you about the-
Did you invite Zelensky to the inauguration?
No, but if you'd like to come, I'd like to have him. I mean, I didn't invite him, no.
Are you
President
disappointed
Trump,
China
can I ask
Xi
you a question
can't
about
come to the
conversation on
inauguration?
board?
Are you disappointed that China Xi won't be at the inauguration?
I don't know that he won't be at the inauguration. I mean, I haven't really spoken to him about it. I don't know that, actually. I would say that if he'd like to come, I'd love to have him. But there's been nothing much discussed. I have had discussions with him, letters, et cetera, at a very high level. You know, we had a very good relationship until COVID. COVID didn't end the relationship, but it was a bridge too far for me. But if he'd like to come, I'd certainly be.
Have you spoken to Venezuela?
Just so you understand, he hasn't said one way or the other. because a lot of people say he won't come, he will come. People think he will come, he won't come. It's something we barely discussed, just about didn't discuss. But I have had, especially through letters, some very good conversations.
Have you had conversations with Venezuela?
You know, because China and the United States can together solve all of the problems of the world, if you think about it. So it's very important. And, you know, he was a friend of mine. I mean, he was here for a long time, right in that spot, except sitting in a very comfortable chair. He wasn't standing like you are. But we spent hours and hours talking. And, you know, he's an amazing guy.
Have you spoken to
The press,
Venezuela?
the press hates when I say that, but he's an amazing
Have you
person.
spoken to anyone in
President
Venezuela,
Trump,
sir?
can I
On
ask you
the
about-
border,
can I
on the
ask you about
border. If I could just ask you on the border.
United
Hold on one second,
Healthcare
Gary.
shooting.
Real quick.
United Healthcare shooting, the
I think
shooting of the
it's
CEO.
terrible.
Can you give us your thoughts about that? And what do you make of
Well,
the
I
reaction
think it's
around the
terrible.
suspected shooter? Does that tell you
Yeah,
anything about how
yeah.
people
I think
about
it's a
healthcare?
terrible thing. I think it's really terrible that some people seem to admire him, like him. And I was happy to see that it wasn't specific to this gentleman that was killed. It's just an overall sickness as opposed to a specific sickness. That was a terrible thing. It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is that's a sickness, actually. That's really very bad, especially the way it was done. It was so bad, right in the back. And very bad, very thing like that. You can't believe that some people, and maybe it's fake news. I don't know. It's hard to believe that that can even be thought of, but it seems that there's a certain appetite for him. I don't get it. Yeah, please.
Could you just comment on?
I want to expand on the defamation lawsuits. Could you see moving that to other people with individual platforms, social media influencers, people that
Or
talk-
newspapers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I do. I think you have to do it because they're very dishonest. We need a great media. We need a fair media. We need, it's very important. And we need borders. We need walls, but we need borders and we need fair elections. You look at California, millions and millions of ballots were sent out. They're still counting the vote in California with the machines. They're counting the vote. If you had paper ballots, the votes would have been counted 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Now, you need fair elections, you need borders, and you need a fair press. And the press is, no, I see others. I have a few others that I'm doing. I'm going to, as an example, I'm doing this not because I want to. I'm doing this because I feel I have an obligation to. I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points. And it became the biggest story all over the world because I was going to win Iowa by 20 points. The farmers loved me and I loved the farmers. And it was interesting the way she did it. She brought it down 2 weeks before. She said I was going to only win by 4. That was a big story. But that was good because she brought it down from like 22 points to 4 or whatever the number was, way up. Way up, an easy win. We never even thought to go there. I respect them. I love them. And they understand there's no reason to go there because she brought it from way up, walk away, which it was. And it turned out to be in the election, too, by the way. It was a win by many, many points. And then she brought it down very smartly to 4 a couple of weeks before. And everyone said, wow, that's amazing. He's only up by 4 points. Then she brought it down to where I was down by 3 or 4, whatever the number she used. And that was the Des Moines Register, and it was their parent. And in my opinion, it was fraud and it was election interference. You know, she's gotten me right always. She's a very good pollster. She knows what she was doing. And she then quit before. And we'll probably be filing a major lawsuit against them today or tomorrow. We're filing one on 60 Minutes, you know about that, where they took Kamala's answer, which was a crazy answer, a horrible answer, and they took the whole answer out and they replaced it with something else she said later on in the interview, which wasn't a great answer, but it wasn't like the first one. The first was grossly incompetent. It was weird. And that was fraud and election interference by their news magazine, a big part of CBS News. So as you know, we're involved in that one. We're involved in one which has been going on for a while and very successfully against Bob Woodward, where he didn't quote me properly from the tapes. And then on top of everything else, he sold the tapes, which he wasn't allowed to do. He could only use them for reporting purposes, not for sale purposes. And he admits that. And I think we'll be successful on that one. And we have one very interestingly on Pulitzer, because reporters at the New York Times, Washington Post got Pulitzer Prizes for their wonderful, accurate, and highly professional reporting on the Russia hoax. Well, it turned out to be a hoax, and they were exactly wrong. People, like many people, John Solomon, Sean Hannity's not for Pulitzer, but Sean Hannity got it right. Many people got it right. Tucker got it right. Jesse got it right. Laura got it right. Janine got it right. A lot of people got it right. They didn't get anything. They gave it to reporters that got it absolutely wrong. And now everybody admits it was a hoax. And I want them to take back the Pulitzer Prizes and pay big damages. And I think we're doing very well on that one. They have no excuse for it. They gave a Pulitzer Prize to writers that got Russia wrong. And so I think we're doing well. And I feel I have to do this. I shouldn't really be the one to do it. It should have been Justice Department or somebody else, but I have to do it. It costs a lot of money to do it, but we have to straighten out the press. Our press is very corrupt, almost as corrupt as our elections.
Are you worried about Venezuela? Sir, have you had any discussions with Venezuela?
For January 6th defendants, you had said in the first few minutes of your administration, you want to issue pardons for January 6th defendants. Does that include, will that be a blanket pardon? Does that include
Well, you'll find
everyone?
out, but it's going to go quickly.
And just to follow up on your
Have you had
previous
any discussion, sir, with in terms of your mass deportation plans? Have you had any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, from where the Tren de Aragua gang is now popping up?
They'll
across the
take them
country?
back.
They're going to take them back.
They're all taking them back. Yep. And if they don't, they'll be met very harshly economically. Okay, they'll all take them back. You know, Venezuela and other countries were not behaving very well with us during my administration, and within 24 hours, they were behaving very well. They'll all take them
And
back.
separately, can I ask a follow-up
Jeff,
on that?
nice to see you, Jeff. This is like the old days, right? You've actually look much better now than you did 4 years ago. What are you doing? What's he doing? All right, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The first day you just mentioned that you're in office, I imagine you've got some executive orders that you're going to go through. Can you tell us what your
We'll have a lot.
priorities-
Well,
what are your priorities?
I bet you could tell, you could say as well as I could. We will have many executive orders and other things that we'll be signing on the first day.
Can you also, just going back to my initial question about the Middle East, you said that your conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu was kind of a review. Did you repeat
We
that
just had a
threat?
very good conversation. And, you know, the real conversations will start on the 20th. But we had a really good conversation. And I think we're going to be in a good place in the Middle East. I think the Middle East will be in a good place. I think actually more difficult is going to be the Russia-Ukraine situation. I see that as more difficult. I don't think they should have allowed missiles to be shot 200 miles into Russia. I think that was a bad thing. And that brought the Koreans in, you know, North Korea, another man I get along with very well. I'm the only one that does. But that did a lot of bad things. I don't think that should have been allowed. Not when there's a possibility, and certainly not just weeks before I take over. Why would they do that without asking me what I thought? I wouldn't have had them do that. I think that was a big mistake they made.
Will you reverse that decision when you're in office to let those
I might, yeah.
missiles be?
I thought it was a very stupid thing to do.
And when you
Do you have any
that-
reaction to
just one
Jim
last one on
Cross?
this. When you say that there will be hell to pay if the hostages are not released before January 20th, what does that mean?
Well, they're going to have to determine what that means. But it means it won't be pleasant.
Mr. President,
It's
how
not,
was your meeting?
it's not going to be pleasant, yeah.
How was your meeting with Apple CEO Tim Cook? And did you talk about tariffs in that meeting? Apple CEO Tim Cook.
I did have dinner with Tim Cook. I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. in this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something. But I had, as you know, I had Sundar from Google, but I also had Sergey. Nobody reported that. Sergey is the owner, the primary owner, along with his friend, as you know. And Sergey was here also. I can't believe you didn't pick that one up. Nobody picked that up. But I will tell you, no, it's a big difference. The big difference is that the first time everybody was fighting me on all fronts. And we had a great administration. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, rebuilt the military. Too much of it was given away to Afghanistan, stupidly given away, horribly given away. I think that's one of the reasons that Putin went in to Ukraine when he saw the stupidity of Milley and these guys. They're stupid people, very stupid people. If they didn't do such a bad, we were pulling out of Afghanistan, but I would have pulled out with dignity and strength. They wouldn't be having parades, I guarantee you, showing our equipment that they left behind, because we weren't going to leave any equipment behind, not 10 cents. We were going to take every screw and every bolt. Yeah, the biggest difference is that people want to get along with me this time. Well, they've gone through 4 years, and it wasn't easy for me, but it wasn't easy for them either. And that's a great thing, though. Getting along is a great thing. So Tim Cook was here. I think he's done an incredible job at Apple, and he talked about the future of Apple. It's going to be a bright future. But we have many others also, and not in that business. And we do have Jeff Bezos, Amazon, coming in sometime during the week. Look forward to that. We have a lot of great executives coming in. The top executives, the top bankers, they're all calling. And honestly, in the first time, I don't know what it was. It's like a complete opposite. In the first one, and the press has covered that fairly, actually, for change. The first one, they were very hostile. And maybe it was my fault, but I don't really think so. They were just very right from the beginning. And this one is much less hostile. It's really the opposite of hostile.
Can I get your reaction?
Well, you're
on
free
Duke
to give
lacrosse,
up,
sir?
Hassan.
I know that you had some, I believe, involvement 18 years ago with the students at Duke accused of rape in lacrosse. Now we have this
Well,
development.
I thought it was a hoax when it happened, the Duke situation. I didn't believe the woman, as you know, and they destroyed the lives of these kids. They destroyed, and I don't care what they got. Their lives have been destroyed. Their lives have been shortened by what took place. And now the woman admitted that it never happened. That is a horrible. And as you know, I took a lot of heat when I said that this did not happen. And those kids were beautiful kids with beautiful families, and they were, in some cases, will never be the same. They will never be the same.
Have you talked to them by chance?
Your thoughts on the Postal Service? You mentioned Bezos a second ago, and I've always thought Bezos would be a key person to go in there and really streamline the logistics of the post office, but they lose billions.
Well, there is talk about the Postal Service being taken private. You do know that. Not the worst idea I've ever heard. It really isn't. It's a lot different today with between Amazon and UPS and FedEx and all the things that you didn't have. But there is talk about that. It's an idea that a lot of people have liked for a long time. We're looking at it. I think we're looking at that along with a lot of us. Any questions for Howard, by the way? Commerce.
Sure, I'll ask one. Mr. Incoming Secretary, do you see another trade deal with China coming?
I think the president. That's a tough one. Yeah. Oh, it's easy for me. You're sitting next to me, so it's okay. No, the president has very clear agenda for tariffs. And I think reciprocity is something that is going to be a key topic for us. How you treat us is how you should expect to be treated.
Would you like to weigh in, sir, on that?
You said it so well, reciprocal. If they tax us, we tax them the same amount. They tax us, forgetting just for a second about the word tax. They tax us, we tax them. And they tax us, almost in all cases, they're taxing us, and we haven't been taxing them.
Is that deal already underway? Is there a deal already underway with respect to that?
Let's just say this, we're gonna make great deals, and we have all the cards. And until I came along, don't forget, and Howard was going over the numbers with me last night, we took in $600 billion and more in taxes and tariffs from China. No other president took in 10 cents, not 10 cents, not 10 cents. And no, we're going to be doing things. We're going to be treating people very fairly. But the word reciprocal is important because if somebody charges us, India, we don't have to talk about own. If India charges us 100%, that we charge them nothing for the same, they send in a bicycle and we send them a bicycle. They charge us 100 and 200. India charges a lot. Brazil charges a lot. If they want to charge us, that's fine, but we're going to charge them the same thing. That's a big
Worried
thing.
about
And you know what? The senators, some of them aren't necessarily business people. When I give that to them, they say, that sounds fair to me.
Are you concerned that tariffs might hurt the stock market rise that you have seen and the economy more broadly?
Make our country rich. Tariffs will make our country rich.
But won't they raise prices?
Properly used. Well, I didn't have any inflation and I had massive tariffs on a lot of things. We put tariffs on steel. If I didn't put tariffs on steel, 50% and more, they were dumping steel in, China and others. I put tariffs on and it stopped and we took a fortune. We made a fortune on it. Tariffs, properly used, which we will do, and being reciprocal with other nations, but it'll make our country rich. Our country right now loses to everybody. Almost nobody do we have a surplus with. There are a couple of countries and they're embarrassed by it, but almost nobody. And tariffs will make, I always said, to me, tariffs is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. It'll make our country rich. You go back and look at the 1890s, 1880s, McKinley, and you take a look at tariffs. That was when we were at our proportionately the richest.
Agree with the view from.
Did you get to a good spot?
Back on Ukraine, Mr. President. What should Zelensky, if anything, be prepared to give up to end this
He
war?
should be prepared to make a deal. That's all. Got to be a deal. No, got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's hard. Too many people. Got to make a deal. And Putin has to make a deal too.
What deal would
Do you
what
think-
would you
yeah.
Putin
suggest?
has to make a deal, and Putin would have never gone in if I was president. If I was president, we wouldn't have had inflation. Our oil prices would have been lower. I had a good relationship with Putin. He would, despite the Russia hoax, which made it more difficult. If we had that election, if it were an honorable election, we wouldn't have had any of the problems that we're talking about right now. Putin would have never got in.
Based
Will you make that
based
deal
on
to
your
give up
Take
the
office,
office?
do you still, you said
Will
that you
you
could make
ask-
that deal before you take office. Do you still think you could make that deal?
I'm going to try.
Will you ask
Based on
Putin
your-
to give up Assad?
Well, I hadn't thought of it. I think we have to get on with our lives. We'll have to see what happens. But right now, Syria has a lot of, there's a lot of indefinites. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Syria. But I think Turkey is going to hold the key to Syria, actually. I don't think you've heard that from anybody else, but I've been pretty good at predicting. I want to thank you all, and we're going to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. All right, you guys. That was longer than I thought, but I wanted to hear what they had to say. Okay, here we go. Let me go to. All right. I first want to go to President Trump winning. And what they did was awful. Hold on a minute. Where is it? Here we go. Right here. Sorry about that.
Donald Trump himself and others will spin it as a victory that he has defeated them. And I also worry about the chilling effect that it could have on others But if you look at the language of what George Stephanopoulos said, he was really referring exactly what the judge said in the case, and I'll quote the judge to be accurate. The judge in that case said the finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of New York law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand the word rape. Indeed, as the evidence at trial recounted below makes clear, the jury found that Mr. Trump, in fact, did exactly that.
I don't understand these people. Why are these people so just sour towards him? I don't understand it.
year. And a lot of people were surprised that Time magazine still existed. Here's editor-in-chief Sam Jacobs making the announcement on NBC. And I have to say, he seemed almost embarrassed about it.
The person of the year who, for better or for worse, had the most influence on the news in 2024 is Donald Trump.
Okay, there it is. Donald Trump, 2024 Person of the Year.
He was almost apologetic. And as you can imagine, lefties weren't happy about Trump being on the cover, but they reacted in the calm and considered way.
I guess nobody's really talking about that. Some of the stuff these people talk about, I don't understand it. Okay? Oh my God. He's on the cover of Time. Okay, we are not going to watch that whole thing. All right.
Eric, thank you. We have breaking news. ABC News and George Stephanopoulos have reached a settlement with President-elect Trump in his defamation lawsuit. The network agrees to pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to Trump's presidential library. ABC and Stephanopoulos will also issue statements of regret as an editor's note to the March 2024 article and television segment that prompted Trump to file the lawsuit earlier this year. Trump sued Stephanopoulos after he asserted in an interview that Trump was found, quote, liable for rape in a civil case, despite the fact that a jury actually determined Trump was liable for, quote, sexual abuse, which has a distinct definition under New York law.
Yeah, they are so stupid, aren't they? Here's the clip. I clicked it. Where is it? I mean, this guy is a joke.
And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question.
Listen to how he talks to her. She is a survivor.
Shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not going to do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about.
No, you are shaming
You've
me.
endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim. And I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it. It's not
harder
okay.
for women to come forward when they
it makes it harder when other women
candidates.
joke about it. And she's joked about it. I find it offensive. And I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame
you.
you.
Are.
In fact,
I have dealt with this for 30 years. You know how hard it was to tell my story 5 years ago when they were doing a fetal heartbeat bill and there were no exceptions for rape, incest, or rape or incest in there? I had to tell my story because no other woman was coming forward. No rape victims were represented. And you're trying to shame me this morning. And I find it offensive. And this is why women won't come forward.
Women won't come forward because they're defamed by those who perpetrate rape.
They are judged and they're shamed. You're trying to shame me this morning. I think it's disgusting.
I'm not shaming you at all.
I told my story. It took me 25 years to tell my story. I was judged for it. I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment.
Oh, listen to this guy. This guy should not even be a reporter. Listen to how he's talking to his guest. And who cares what political party she's on? You know what? Actually, in my opinion, it don't matter. It's nobody's damn business, okay? Hold on a minute. But listen to how he's talking to her.
And what she was going to do with all that money, I find that offensive. But as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. My political choices, I've endorsed a man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Lincoln Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer and illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about presidential candidates?
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And
you're
you
questioning my
courageously
political
talked
choices
about
because
that.
I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're
shaming
supporting
me. You're
someone
trying
who's
to
been
shame
found
me.
liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to.
You are. That's exactly
You're not
what
answering
you're
the
doing.
question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you also have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they're afraid. They're afraid
They're
because
judged
they're
as
defamed
shamed.
by those who
They're trying to shame me this
they
morning.
are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened. But
See that? You know what? I don't think we should listen to this whole thing. Okay. That's all he keeps saying over and over and over in this, the R word. Now let's talk about these Democrats here. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or either, right? This country is a mess right now. And I don't know why nobody can want to see the best for our country.
Democrats, though, they're not excited about Trump. They're not excited about his inauguration. So they are planning an inauguration boycott with more than a dozen lawmakers planning to skip the president's inauguration. Meantime, Senator John Fetterman, becoming the lone voice of bipartisanship, as the first Democrat senator to meet with Trump's defense secretary pick, Pete Hegseth. He tells Axios, quote, if Hegseth is going to be the head of one of the most important parts of our government, then do you think I'm doing a job by flipping anyone off and saying I'm not going to talk to him or just have a conversation? Jack Brewer is a former NFL player and the CEO of the Brewer Foundation, and he joins me now. Jack, don't senators have an obligation like John Fetterman to perform that all-important requirement of advising consent as they try to evaluate these nominees?
Of course they do. And he used the word reckless. And I think that's the exact terminology that we need to address this issue with these Democrats. Fetterman, he wants to protect his country. He's a staunch supporter of Israel, and he knows that Pete Hegseth is someone that can get our military back to where it needs to be and bring back our standing in the world. You look at Pete Hegseth and you look at really across the board at what President Trump has done with his appointees, and you ask yourself, can any of these Democrats look themselves in the mirror and say, could I have gotten into multiple Ivy League schools? Could any of them gotten accepted into the West Point? And so to sit there and to just completely ignore a man who has so much credentials, who's able to, really prove to the world that not just is he a Fox News reporter, but he's intelligent. I mean, Pete is one of the smartest people that I know. You look at what he done and has served for our military. I mean, I know personally he has supported all of my initiatives inside of prisons and jails, fighting for incarcerated veterans. He's fighting for, anytime we talk about fatherhood, he's one of the first people that I call. He cares about this country. He cares about protecting the United States of America. And I don't just think he's going to be just a good choice to help get our country back in line. I think he will be one of the best Secretary of Defense that we've ever had. And so I have so much faith in Pete. And I think many Democrats in the back of their mind, they know exactly that this man is more qualified than many of them have ever been for a confirmation. And so I'm cheering for him. I'll be meeting with him and seeing him soon. I'm putting my support behind him. And I hope the American people realize that Pete is the man that can get us back on track when it comes to our military.
Yeah, I've talked to so many people in the know in the area of our national defense, and to a man and to a woman, they say they don't know one veteran or current soldier who doesn't want Hegseth in there. So I think that's telling. He's a player's coach, and the players want him. Let's get to the inauguration for a second. As for why certain Democrats won't be attending, one representative, her name is Delia Ramirez out of Illinois, says that as a Latina, she doesn't feel safe with Trump supporters coming to D.C. You think that's a justifiable fear for not attending the inauguration, Jack?
Oh, my God.
That's absolutely absurd. I'm bringing my kids to this.
This is crazy. Look at this. All right. So let's, if you want to look at this. Oh no, it's not gonna let me. No. What is that? All right. So here's the list. 13 are not attending. 12 are undecided, and 44 are. Who are the ones that ain't? Let's see, representative in Illinois, Minnesota. Where else? Are these the 12? I don't know. Let's watch the news. Let's see what they say again. I mean, the message they're putting out there is sad.
Events. Many people are bringing their children to come experience this event. I think for you to say things like this, like Fetterman said about him on everything else, it's reckless. And I think that's the theme for the modern 2024, 2025 Democrat, is that they're reckless. And it needs to stop. I mean, this type of rhetoric is not what's going to help bring this country together. The people came out in droves for President Trump, people of all races, sizes, and colors. And so it's a beautiful thing. And so we should celebrate this time right now. No one wants to hear this negativity around the inauguration. If they're not going to come to the inauguration, won't they call the Jack Brewer Foundation and send us their tickets?
Sure.
I think they all get them. So we'll take them. We'll take their tickets and we'll fill it up with veterans who have supported this nation and put them in those seats.
That's a great
and
idea.
really show President Trump how we feel.
Speaking of football, President-elect Trump receiving a massive cheer at the Army-Navy game alongside key guests, while President Biden has never gone to the game while in office. This goes beyond football. I know you're a football guy, Jack. You played in the league. You get it. But what does it mean to the military to have Trump at this game?
Man, you reference, you talk about having a coach. You're talking about having a leader that's going to make you want to go out there and play ball, going to go out there and defend the military, go out there and be on Team America, be on a team that wants to win. I mean, that's what President Trump is. President Trump is America's coach, and we want to get behind him. Look at how that crowd reacted to them. Think about our military men, how they feel having somebody that gets them ready for a game that wants to play. And so, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing. This is what America needed, the time right now. I think the world is seeing this. I mean, people are seeing clips of this game, and they saw the reaction when he walked out into that stadium. And so it's a beautiful thing. Let's keep this momentum going. You know how momentum works. If we can continue to ride it, we will win the game.
Jack Brewer, speaking some truth on a Monday morning. We appreciate it as always, Jack. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the.
There's that. Hold on a minute. Jesus, I hate it when it happens. Okay, we are going to watch. No, not that. Hold on. How did that happen? Oh, no. Give me a minute. All right, we are going to go to what Biden has done and the people he has pardoned or gave clemency to. Let me show you this real quick before we get to the news reports. This is crazy, you guys. I looked at this a while back, who he pardoned, because I just wanted an idea. Because he only pardoned what? At that time, it was a very, very low number. It was for sure under 50. On the day of December 12th, he gave clemency to 1,499 people and 39 pardons. And that is not including his son. So, yeah, it's a lot of this. This is crazy. Now, I do want to say when he pardoned his son, right? This is all in one day. I went and looked at the type of people he did pardon, and the people he pardoned back then, okay, were people that unalived people and people for drug crimes. I mean, there was one, oh my God, how many pounds? It was several hundred pounds of either the white powder. I'll put it like that. I'm going to be careful with my wording. I couldn't believe it. All right, so we're going to listen to what some people think about this.
Let me ask you about President Biden's pardon of his son, Hunter. Former Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn said she agrees with the decision to pardon them. She disagrees with how it was carried out, the criticism of the Justice Department. And I want to remind you of what we heard from President Biden himself on this topic earlier this year. Take a look.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes,
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
yes. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Senator, Was it the right decision for the country to pardon Hunter Biden?
Well, I think two things. When you have his opponents going after his family, as a father, as a parent, I think we can all understand Biden trying to protect his son and his family. On the other hand, I think the precedent being set is kind of a dangerous one. It was a very wide open pardon, which could, under different circumstances, lead to problems in terms of future presidents.
Do you think he could hurt his legacy with this pardon, Senator?
Well, I think his legacy is a strong legacy. I think President Biden on domestic policies has been perhaps the most progressive president in American history since FDR. And I think the economy today, in many ways, is in very strong shape. But I do believe as President Trump comes into office, we have got to understand, Kristen, and this is something I feel very strongly about, and it's not talked about enough. We are moving rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. Never before in American history have so few billionaires, so few people had so much wealth and so much power. Never before has there been so much concentration of ownership, sector after sector, power of Wall Street, and never before in American history, and we better talk about this, have the people on top had so much political power. We can't go around the world saying, oh, well, in Russia, Putin has an oligarchy. Well, we got an oligarchy here too. And in this last election, in both parties, billionaires spent huge amounts of money to elect their candidates. Here in the state of Vermont, we believe we have town meetings, one person, one vote. That's democracy, not billionaires buying elections. Those are the issues we got to focus on. We got to rebuild the middle class. 60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck. We're the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. Many seniors are struggling, high rates of childhood poverty. So I look forward to working with President Trump when he has ideas that are going to help the working class. We will vigorously oppose him if he wants to attack democracy or women's rights to control the...
Oh, God. Oh, God. Bernie. They act like he's this terrible guy. And let me tell you something. This mess that is going on in this world, or United States, is in the last 4 years. Because let me tell you something. You got people that came from other countries, right? Come on in. They didn't come the right way, right? And I think I've talked about this before. Like the prescription, like drugs. My dad, okay, we all know this, both my parents had cancer. My mom died 29 days after we found out. Now, my dad, to keep him alive, one pill was $1,000. One freaking pill. He had to pay $70,000 for his radiation. Okay, the man lives off his pension and Social Security. So he has nothing. That is sad. Oh, let's look at this. Oh, come on. Let's get this over with.
New at 4, President Biden's decision to grant clemency to nearly 1,500 people is the largest act of clemency by any president. It's being met with anger and frustration, though, in Dixon, Illinois.
That's because Rita Crunwell's name is on the list. She pled guilty to stealing $54 million from taxpayers in the largest municipal heist in U.S. history.
Wow.
We're not taking any questions.
Do you have anything you want to say to the people of Dixon?
Rita Crunwell was a humble public servant by day, but lived large in almost every other part of her life. A 20-year fraud on her hometown of Dixon, Illinois. The total, $54 million.
Don't you think you owe the people of Dixon an apology, Rita?
Now, another gut punch for the people of Dixon. Crunwell's name is on a list of 1,500 people granted clemency, meaning her punishment is over.
We're just shocked, outraged. As a community, we feel betrayed by the justice system, by the president.
Danny Langloss was Dixon's police chief when Crunwell's crime was exposed.
She pled guilty to a very serious crime, got near the maximum, and served 8 years. What message does that send to the victims, to our community, and to people across the country who think about doing something like this.
Crunwell was a world-class horseman with a stable and possessions worthy of a queen. She left the impression she served as Dixon's comptroller to give back. The charade crumbled in 2012. Then in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, WGN Investigates obtained this handwritten letter to the judge begging to be released. With my deteriorating health condition and the danger of the COVID-19 pandemic, I feel like I have been given a death sentence, she wrote.
God.
The judge denied release, but the following year, the Bureau of Prisons put her on home confinement, even though she had only served less than half of her sentence. Rita's brother didn't have much interest in talking to me back then.
Sorry to bother you. I'm from WGN.
About bad luck.
Why do I have bad luck?
You're
Well, that's not very nice.
What are you doing here?
But
I
we're-
live here. What are you bothering me for? Get
We-
your camera off.
Wow.
Is Rita staying with you? Or
Rita who? Who would you like?
your sister who wrote in a letter to the judge that she was going to stay with you if she was released?
Do me a favor and kiss my head.
Wow.
Is it your sense that she was remorseful?
It is not, actually.
Former U.S. Marshal Jason Modillo met with Crunwell in prison several times as he worked to sell her assets.
She conveyed to me more of a sense of disgust that she had been sentenced to so long. You know, she was very visibly shaken by the fact that she was serving a nearly 20-year sentence.
Crunwell has been out of jail on home monitoring since 2021. The president's grant of clemency means there's now no possibility she can be required to return to prison to finish the sentence that wasn't supposed to end until 2029.
The president is commuting the sentences of 1,500 individuals who were placed on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic and who have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities.
We've had a dramatic turnaround in 10 years. I was proud to be part of it, but we're not where we would have been if she hadn't been robbing us for 20 years.
Able to reach Rita Crunwell for comment on her clemency. Through the sale of her assets and proceeds from a lawsuit, Dixon taxpayers managed to recover 40 of the 50.
Okay, let me tell you something. I'm not into violence or anything like that, but how everything's bad, and him, number one, doing that pardon on his son got a lot of people going, and bad things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. But he didn't think about all that. Oh my God, Chinese spies? What?
President Biden has granted clemency to 3 Chinese nationals, including
Wow.
2 convicted spies and a man found guilty of possessing tens of thousands of child pornography images as part of a prisoner swap with China. The clemencies, dated November 22nd, secured the release of Americans Mark Swiden, Kai Li, and John Leung, who were imprisoned in China on charges ranging from espionage to drug-related offenses. Among those pardoned were Yang Junchu, a career Chinese intelligence officer, and Ji Chaoqun, a Chicago-based spy linked to China's Ministry of State Security. Chu, extradited to the U.S. in 2018, was convicted of targeting American aviation firms, including GE Aviation, to steal trade secrets. Ji was sentenced last year for espionage and recruiting spies to obtain U.S. aerospace technology. The third individual, Shan Linjin, a former doctoral student in Dallas, was convicted in 2021 for possessing over 47,000 child pornography images.
Oh,
This
God.
exchange follows heightened tensions over Chinese espionage. In October, a congressional report criticized the Department of Justice for insufficiently enforcing laws against Chinese spying. The pardons come amidst revelations of Chinese influence operations in the U.S., including alleged espionage within New York state and local governments, and the exposure of a covert Chinese police station in Manhattan. While the swap has drawn criticism, it underscores the complex dynamics between Washington and Beijing as they navigate issues of national security and diplomacy.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe.
All right, I think we'll watch one more and then that'll be it. Here's another one talking about all the pardons, corrupt judges, you name it.
President Biden under scrutiny after commuting a former Pennsylvania judge who was convicted of funneling juveniles for millions of dollars in kickbacks.
Oh,
her
geez.
son, our next guest, was caught up in the so-called Kids for Cash scheme and joins us right now. Sandy Fonzo is with us from Pennsylvania. Sandy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Sandy, tell us a little bit about when you saw that this judge who was convicted for essentially sending kids to jail longer so that the prison, the private facilities could make more money. When you heard that Joe Biden pardoned this guy, commuted this guy's sentence, what did you think?
I was actually working, so I was driving, and my phone started blowing up. Everybody messaging me and calling me. I had no service for most of that day, so it kind of just hit me. I was filled with every kind of emotion, hurt, defeat. Now that I've had more time to process it, it's more of anger.
Yeah.
And just, this is very deeply upsetting and personal.
It is personal because your son, this guy sentenced your son to this private prison system. And the Washington Post has got an item today, and they describe what was going on. They write, to maximize the payout, they often gave kids the harshest possible sentence. Young people who were first-time offenders and probably should have received a warning or community service would end up locked up. Some were younger than 13. What the judges did caused tremendous harm to thousands of young people and their families. One young man died by suicide. Many youth became depressed and dropped out of school. The one young man is your son, Eddie. Eddie, explain what happened.
Eddie was, he was a good kid. He was, a wrestler in high school. He had his whole life ahead of him. He did nothing more than any other kids at that age do. He was at an underage drinking party, and he got caught, and he went in front of this judge. He was placed in our local juvenile detention center, and he was there for approximately 1 month. And in that time, I was speaking with all of them, and it was to teach them a lesson, to get them back on track. And so when he came back in front of the judge, I had letters from teachers, from his wrestling coaches, of my son's character. He wanted nothing more to just get back home and back to his life, and that didn't happen. He was sent to this facility, and God knows what happened in that facility, because when my son did come out, it was 8 months at that time, I believe. He was not the same person. He was pent up with anger and bitter for all the wrong. He would not accept any kind of counseling. He didn't want to look you in the eye. I don't know, and I can't imagine, and I try to not think about what happened to him in that facility, but he never recovered from it. We were fighting this, and these judges just had control. They had all the power, and nobody could say anything. Nobody could step up. I mean, there was a judge, Ann Lakuta, in our courthouse, and when she tried to step up, she was ousted. She was thrown out. Everybody was afraid. These judges just had power, and when they shut down that our community detention center, against all the recommendations of our city board members, they built their own for-profit juvenile detention center, and this Conahan was president judge. And when that happened, he appointed Shivarella as the juvenile judge, and these kids were just funneled in and to keep these beds filled. And this went on for years, and until the money was seen, that's when the feds finally stepped in.
That's just gross, you guys. Okay, this is horrible. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a link to this if you want to watch the whole thing. That's sad. But I'm going to be looking at that list and who all these people are. All right. Oh, all right. This live has been pretty long. Missy, I want to thank you, like always, for being here and supporting me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for now. But I just thought I would give that update. See you later.